How to protect yourself from lawsuits, coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and in this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. I'm going to share with you some strategies that we use to protect yourself from lawsuits, especially when you have real estate. These days, even if you only own a house, you're still at risk because real estate is so expensive, so valuable. There's something there that someone can actually take away from you in a lawsuit. So whether you're just trying to protect your own home or you have a real estate empire or whatever the deal, you want to protect yourself. We've had experience over the last 20 years with different types of lawsuits and different strategies that we've tried. And I'm going to share with you some of the experiences we've had and what I think the best way to protect yourself is. Now, I can remember staying up late at night, Googling and researching and reading law books and calling over a dozen attorneys, more actually, but I'll say over a dozen, probably in the last year, trying to research how to protect yourself. And, you know, a lot of it goes down to experience. So I'll explain to you what we've done. So in our experience working with LLCs are great. LLC stands for Limited Liability Company. So let's say you have a house or you have 2 or 3 houses that you rent. You can put each property into an LLC. It's almost like making a separate entity from yourself, like a different person. So if you do something and someone sues you, they can't go after your real estate because it's not technically yours. It's owned by this fake person, an LLC. Oftentimes, like if your address is, I don't know, 3019 Borson Street, real estate investors will call it the 3019 Borson Street LLC. Or they'll put their money into trust also, that's another option. But mostly people use LLCs and umbrella policies. So if somebody sues you and all you have is $1,000 in the bank, well, that's basically all they can get. So if you go punch someone or you get in a car accident or you do anything like that and someone tries to sue you, all they can get is what is in your name, in your bank account, $1,000. But because you have your home in an LLC, they can't touch that. It's separate from you. So it creates kind of like a barrier. It makes it a little harder for people to sue you and go after your assets. Now, the downfall with LLCs is if you own multiple properties, like I was talking to my buddy yesterday, he has 10, you have to pay to set all those up. Now, you can get some good deals online from attorneys. You might be able to get them all set up for, like, let's say $1,500 each or something, maybe less in some states, but now you're looking at like $15,000 just to set them up. And in most states, they charge you a yearly fee to keep that LLC going. In California, it's around $800 right now. So in my friend's case, he has to pay $8,000 a year to keep those 10 properties and their different LLCs going to maintain that protection. Now, obviously, if you have millions in real estate like he does, then that $8,000 is worth it and you can deduct it. But there's another way to do things. You can also get umbrella insurance. And I've seen a lot of people had success with that. And a lot of the attorneys I talk to, they like that. They like the umbrella policy. They say it's probably more effective. Because let's say someone sues one of your LLCs. Let's say you have someone that slips and falls at this building we're building here, and they decide they want to sue you for, $1 million or something. Well, that's going to go against that LLC, and yes, it could take money away from this property because it's owned by that business, by that LLC. The good thing is that it keeps it from spreading to all your other assets. So in his case, if he has 10 properties and they're worth $1 million each, and someone sues him for $3 million, it's limited only to the one property where the incident occurred. They can't go after the other ones. So that kind of cuts the amount that they can lose, their losses. They're limited to basically the value of that certain property. In this case, we're saying it's $1 million. So that's the maximum they can get. Whereas if you have everything in your name, they can go after you and sky's the limit. They can go after everything you own, everything in your bank accounts, all your properties. They can put lien on your properties. It's a big disaster, so you don't want to do that. But umbrella policies are basically multi-million dollar, well, it depends how much you buy. they're pretty inexpensive. I know I was talking to my friend yesterday, and it's about for about $2,000, he's paying for $3 million of coverage. Now here in Los Angeles, the lawsuits are gonna range somewhere around $1 million to $3 million, but they never settle for that much. If you think about it, it's almost like negotiating. Let's say you wanna buy this bottle here for $10, right? And someone has it listed for 20. Well, you're not gonna go in there and say, hey, can I buy it for $10? You're gonna say, hey, what if I give you $5 for it? And then you guys are gonna negotiate, and then they'll say 15, you'll say 5, and then you'll say, hey, why don't we meet in the middle? And you come up with $10, and that gives you the price that you want. So in negotiation, you're always gonna, if you're selling, you're gonna start high. If you're buying, you're gonna start low. And you're gonna negotiate, and then somewhere you're gonna say, why don't we split the difference and meet in the middle? So the person that had this listed for 20 bucks is now gonna sell it to you for $10, and that's what you wanted. But if you start at 10, they're gonna say, well, what about 15 or 16? It's gonna be much higher than what you actually wanna pay. So you always wanna start really low and then meet somewhere in the middle that's fair for both of you. So it's a win-win. So lawsuits are kind of the same way. Over 90% of lawsuits are settled on the steps, they call it, on the steps of the courthouse. And oftentimes it's true, up to the last minute, people will settle the lawsuits. Most people don't wanna go to trial. It's very expensive for both sides. It wastes a lot of money. So any money that you might get out of the settlement is going to be reduced significantly if you have to go to court. And plus, you might lose. You might not get anything. So a lot of people just like to settle the lawsuit. So if someone comes at you with, like, let's say $1 million, they're probably going to get, 70,000, 100, who knows? Depends on what the allegations are. But it's going to be significantly lower. So most of the lawsuits I've seen, they usually, depending on what it is, they usually settle for way less than $1 million. Usually under 100,000, a few 100,000. So you want to look at the size of the lawsuits that are coming in. Like, we were talking to a client yesterday, and he's saying that lately he's been getting a lot of lawsuits for like 2 or 3 million. So I told him, well, you should get a $3 million policy then, just in case, so you're covered. Now, what does that policy cost? Like I said, it's about $2,000. Whereas my friend has the 10 properties, he paid $15,000 to set them up under an LLC, and he pays $8,000 a year to maintain them. I think, in my opinion, it's better just to get the umbrella policy. You could get both. That's obviously going to be your best option of all. But if you just get the umbrella policy, you're going to have $1, $2, $3 million of coverage. That's going to cover almost everything. And the insurance is going to pay for the legal fees. It's going to cover a lot of the stuff. So it's going to help out quite a bit. Now, what are some of the things that are not covered? Well, that's the thing. Attorneys are tricky sometimes. So let's say you have someone that, I don't know, that falls off a ladder here at this place here, and they want to sue you because they sprained their ankle. And instead of suing you for like 10 grand or something, they're going to say, you know what, I'm going to sue you for 50 grand. Why? Because I think that you're being racist. I thought that you were discriminating because of my age. I thought that you were like working me long hours. So they'll start throwing all these other things in there in the lawsuits that could be completely false. In my opinion, every lawsuit you get is going to have a bunch of stuff in it that's totally false and fake. So you just have to get used to it. Don't take it personal. It's just the way attorneys work, unfortunately. A lot of them are not real honest. So what they'll do is, instead of just saying, hey, I fell off a ladder, give me 10 grand. They'll say, you discriminate against me because I'm, whatever race I am, because I'm ugly or I'm too tall or whatever. They'll list all these other things, and they'll say, so now I want 100,000. So your umbrella insurance company will come along and they'll say, hey, you know what? We can cover you for the guy falling off the ladder because that's covered under your policy. But we don't cover illegal things like discrimination or sexism or ageism or things like that. Or if you beat somebody up, that's like against the law. So if you do things that break the law, that voids a lot of the parts of the policy. Now, the insurance companies also know that the attorneys do that, just so they can make things more complicated for you and try to extract more money out of you. So you obviously want to deny all that stuff that's not true. And the insurance company a lot of times will still cover you because they'll negotiate with the person suing you, and they'll say, hey, you know what? You're saying that you got discriminated against. You said that, you know, because your age, your sex, or your race, or whatever. But we just don't see that. Why don't we give you, you know, $5,000 and you walk away, or $6,000 or whatever, and they start negotiating. You go to a mediation, and it usually gets resolved in your favor. They usually just pay them some money to go away. The cool thing is the lawsuit goes away, you're done with it, and it doesn't end up costing you $1 million or $2 or $3 million or whatever. It's usually way, way less. Those are just scare tactics to try to get you to negotiate and also to get more money out of your insurance. So if you don't have an umbrella policy or you don't have an LLC, you're in big trouble. You're gonna have to pay all those legal fees. That could be a lot of money, 50, 100 grand, 150 grand. You're gonna pay the settlement out of your pocket. It's very expensive, very risky. I don't recommend that. I mean, umbrella policy, $1 million policy is gonna cost you, you know, I don't know, less than 50 bucks a month, depending on where you live. That's totally worth it for peace of mind. That's gonna cover you for 90% or more of the lawsuits that could come at you. We had a party recently at a friend's house, and at that party, one of our other friends who had just had a knee replacement slipped on the back stairs, fell on his operated knee. Later on that night, another friend was walking in the grass, stepped in some type of a hole, fell, and hit his hip. He just had his hip replaced like 6 months ago. You know, luckily we're all friends, so nothing happened, but those are examples of, you know, the guy just had a party at his house. He's liable for those people that got hurt. It could be a big deal, and you want to avoid that stuff. A lot of times your homeowner's insurance policy will cover you for some of that, but not always. So that umbrella policy is going to give you a little extra coverage. It's going to encompass everything. It's going to cover not only your home, your car, everything that you do is going to have like this kind of like a force field around it. So if your car, let's say you only have $50,000 of coverage, well, now on top of that, you can add on the $1 million umbrella. So if you get in a big car accident, you know, your insurance for the car will pay out $50,000, but then the umbrella will back that up. It's like a backup plan. So it's very effective, and I think it's one of the best things you can do for asset protection. So thank you for watching. And from Los Angeles, California, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy. Thank you. Bye-bye.